Well, hello and welcome into the Guilty as Charged podcast. Steven is out today because he spent a lot of money to go watch Utah lose to Oregon. So he's out there somewhere in Oregon. Wish him all the best. We are here. We're ready to rock. We'll cover the show today. Joining me as Alex and Arjun. Is it R as? Joining me are Alex and Arjun. Arjun, man, your Michigan Wolverines almost lost. How are you?
I'm doing good. Had a bit of a scare yesterday, like you said, with the Michigan game, but I pulled out the dub, just what we wanted to see, and hopefully we get a similar result from the Chargers tonight.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I really hope so. Although I didn't know this until about 5 seconds ago. I guess Michigan and Ohio State are playing next week. So hope you lose, buddy. Alex, how you doing, man? Alex is a wee bit frozen.
Well, Rutgers lost by
Rutgers.
35 to Penn State. So, I mean...
Go for it, Alex.
Yeah, Rutgers lost by 35 to Penn State, so...
Okay, well, that's... No, they actually lost by, I think, 45. Let me double check the score for you. They lost by 45. If that makes you feel any better. Alex, man, I think we're losing you on the internet side of things. Arjun, you can hear me, yeah?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Well, anywho, this is starting off great. Yeah, Arjun's here. Everyone's excited to see Arjun. They all miss you. Oh, there goes Alex. Miguel misses Arjun. Someone else says something about Arjun. Jorge Rodriguez. Popular guy. I think you disappeared for a bit. You went on IR after your Eckler take, and then you came back, and I think you've avoided the onslaught.
I'm back. I'm optimistic today. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm back with
Wow.
optimism. I'm not the pessimistic guy. Like, we're gonna have a lot of optimistic takes tonight. So I'm here to fire the fan base up. We need more positivity in our lives,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about some positivity right now. So the Chargers are now. This is kind of weird because the injury report was the injury report, and then after that, there were some things, some moves, and some notifications, kind of make you question who really is going to be available. So Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. We'll start with the big storylines, honestly, which is Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. The fact that they were able to practice in full on Friday. It seemed like they were even not in full during the week, but they were out there running, drills, starting to run some routes. So it seems very optimistic that they were going to play. And then Mike Williams, by all accounts, is going to play. And Keenan Allen seems like he's going to play. Not entirely sure. It's not definitive yet, but he says that I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. It's up to the coaches and the medical staff. So, I mean, Arjun, man, you have those two receivers. Let's just assume that they are coming back. The Chiefs will be without McCole Hardman. They'll be without Juju Smith-Schuster, which still leaves them with two top 7 wide receivers in their respective draft classes. But still, Chiefs down 2 receivers, Chargers potentially up both of their star wide receivers. How much of this changes the game for you? Because it seems this is pretty significant and really great timing.
Well, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't phrase it like great timing. I don't root for player injuries, obviously, but yeah, like the big point about why I was like feeling better about the Chargers is, first of all, Travis Kelce underperforms against the Chargers anytime Derwin James is healthy. So put out a graph yesterday, and this is like a bet I really like Travis Kelce under 77.5 receiving yards. So anytime Derwin James is healthy and playing a majority of the game, Travis Kelce is gone under his receiving yards in 4 of his 5 games. So we're likely going to see Kelce get taken out of the game plan. But the problem with the Chargers defense in these games against the Chiefs is they had these secondary receivers, whether it was Tyreek Hill, McCole Hardman, Sammy Watkins. Every game they had the secondary guy to go to. But without Juju and without Hardman, you're kind of relegated to MVS playing a majority of the snaps. Kadarius Toney, who I really like in this game for the Chiefs, to be honest, because I don't think there's any Chargers cornerback like with the agility to keep up with him. And then like Sky Moore, Justin Watson, like the receiver room isn't deep. Like if Justin Watson beats us over the top for 50 yards again, I think you just charge it to the game and be like, whatever, right? But like for the most part, we can optimistically assume that Kelce's going to be taken out of the game plan by Derwin James. So now it's kind of just up to, can the Chargers win their one-on-one matchups with MVS, with Sky Moore, Justin Watson, Kadarius Toney? And I feel pretty good about that, especially after that performance last week. The only issue I'm having is the Chargers' third down defense has kind of been not that great in recent weeks. The 49ers had third and Jimmy show up last week. And as you know, like Mahomes has been using his legs more recently, and he's always killed the Chargers with his legs. So the only issue I have is the Chargers are probably like, I think they'll do a decent job defensively, but can they key in on Mahomes while also stopping the receivers? And like, how do they do that? Do they take a player out of coverage and put him in a spy? Like, there's a lot of moving pieces, and again, you can't say anything's going to be like, you can't be definitive against Mahomes just because he's playing at an MVP level right now. But yeah, feeling optimistic about the Chargers' defensive game plan going into tonight.
Yeah, as am I. Alex, I don't know when we lost you, but we're just talking about really just the receivers here. So Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, assuming they're going to be back, at least Mike Williams back, and then Hardman and Juju Smith-Schuster both out for the Chiefs. How much of this, well, I know what your prediction is, but how much of this does at least make it close for you, whereas earlier in the week, maybe not so much?
Oh, I think it made it a much closer game because I think at one point this week prior to the Keenan and Mike news, I think the Chiefs were like 7-point favorites, and then that got whittled down to I think the Chiefs are a 5-point favorite at home now, which I mean, I still think it'll be a relatively close game, closer than what I thought it would be earlier in the week, especially with Keenan and Mike back, and both of them looking good in particular, right? I mean, take what you will about like practice videos and stuff, but the fact that Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are both like actually running and like being almost full participants in practice, doing drills, that is the kind of thing where we just had not seen that for Keenan really since week 2, week 3, and for Mike Williams obviously prior to his injury in the Seattle game. So having both of those guys is just such a huge advantage in this game, especially with the Chiefs down receivers in the way that they are. Still would predict a loss, which we'll get to in a minute here, but I think this makes it a much closer game overall.
Yeah, even with the two receivers coming back for the Chargers, they could still literally be still the most unhealthy team in the league, even with those guys coming back. Although it should be a bit better, but then I think they were 7 points off from the Cardinals or whatever it was. So not great there. Let's talk about some of the guys that either are or aren't playing. I'm not entirely sure because Gerald Everett was limited in 2 practices this week. Then he was full. And then sometime last night, he got downgraded to questionable. Don't know what. We don't know if he just should have been considered questionable to begin with or what. I don't know. But Gerald Everett, the drop off from him to Trey McKitty, we talked about it. It's rough. So if he's not out there, that's definitely concerning. A corresponding sort of move is they activated Stone Smart off the NFI list, which I don't. Some people, I think Aaron Wilson said that he was signed, and then some people have just said he was activated. I don't know quite what his status is there. They signed Joe Gaziano to the active roster, which makes sense. They probably should have done that last week. And then, of course, they don't do that. And they lose 2 DTs in the middle of the game. Cameron Dicker, of course, is going to be kicking for Dustin Hopkins. Hopkins is still out. The interesting one is that Foster Sarell is elevated from the practice squad, which I guess, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that situation. I can't wait to hear what you guys think because by all accounts, Trey Pipkins is fine and he's off the injury report. Granted, so is Gerald Everett. But Trey Pipkins practiced full on Friday, but they're activating Sarell. So I don't know if that's a Storm Norton thing. I don't know if it's a Trey Pipkins insurance thing, whatever it is. But we get Chris Rumph back as well. J.K. Scott overcame his illness. And honestly, it's the first mostly positive injury report I've seen for the Chargers since week 1 when no one got hurt yet. So what do you guys make of the rest of these moves and some guys like Everett that may or may not be out, and then Pipkins, who I think is playing, but then they activated Sarell with Storm Norton still on the roster. So what do you guys make of all that? Alex, we'll go back to you on that one.
Yeah, I guess the Sarell move isn't too surprising just because maybe they want to be a little bit cautious with Pipkin's health and just say, he's coming back from injury, potential chance of re-injury, that kind of thing. He was an MCL sprain in particular, right? So, I mean, maybe they're just playing it cautious there. The real question is what happens if Pipkins goes down? Because their move, the whole season has been to put Norton in during the game, but you started Sarell over Norton.
Alex, we lost you again, man.
So I don't know what they do.
All right, Arjun, we'll pivot to you on this one. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So the Sarell move just kind of signals they have no faith in Storm Norton, which, is kind of warranted at this point. I think the fact that they started him over the fact that they started Cyril over Storm last week was kind of indicative of like how they feel about Norton. But I mean, I think at some point you're gonna have to like this is like what his second activation, right? So if they activate him next week again, then I mean they're gonna have to cut Storm and sign Cyril to the active roster, right? So like it's kind of just kind of the state of the Chargers backup offensive lineman depth right now, which it is what it is. If Pipkins goes down, you're obviously going to get a significant downgrade anyway. So I think Cyril was okay against Nick Bosa, but he had his moments, and uh, I guess like against this Chiefs defensive line, I'm not like too worried that they're gonna kind of expose anyone who steps in at right tackle, because like I'm not that scared of Frank Clark or like Karlaftis, if we're being completely honest. But at the end of the day, like I think the offensive line against this Chiefs defense is gonna come down to who can stop Chris Jones, right? And I feel like always Chris Jones just has his best games against us. Do you think I'm wrong about that?
I don't know enough of his games, but we've certainly watched some really bad Chargers interior offensive lines, and Chris Jones has absolutely feasted on those. I believe, well, so I think the first game last year, he was like their edge rusher against the Chargers. So he
Yeah,
didn't do much, but then
yeah.
they got Melvin Ingram, who went back inside. And I think he had a pretty decent game off of memory. So yeah, I mean, it really does come down to that. And Matt Filer has been playing a lot better, so that's good. I thought Zion struggled a bit on Sunday night against the 49ers and was part of the reason they really couldn't push it. There was a particular hole shot on the left side to Palmer that they could have picked up, 20 something yards and tried to get going to eventually score. Zion lets his guy through. It hits Herbert's arm. Herbert gets picked off. So I hope Zion does pick it up. He did have a really good game against Chris Jones last time, but I'm not going to go out and bet just because, he had one good game against Chris Jones that's going to happen again. I certainly wouldn't bet on that. But overall, feeling pretty good. Off the top of your head, do you know how Karlaftis has been as an edge rusher in terms of efficiency?
I think he's actually been like one of the better. I think he's probably been the Chiefs' best edge rusher. So I'm pulling up their
Okay.
stats right now, which I mean, the fact that he's their best edge rusher kind of says a lot. Oh, yeah, so he is number one on their team in pressures among edge rushers. Chris Jones is still number one overall.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Karlaftis is he gets a lot of pressures, but he doesn't turn a lot of them into sacks. So 28 pressures, 1 sack. Frank Clark is 16 pressures, 4 sacks. Dunlap 15 pressures, 5 sacks. And one of the things they love to do is they love to use those slot corner blitzes with L'Jarius Sneed. And in those cases, like that is especially why we need Keenan Allen back for this game. You need to have that hot route. You need to have that guy that can make one move and get open. Right, like that's why Keenan Allen is here. And so it's going to be like if Jones or if Clark and Dunlap get home, like if they get a pressure, it's probably going to be like a close sack. But as always, like Herbert's the best in the league at overcoming that kind of stuff. So I'm not too worried about the edge pressure. Definitely like worried about how Chris Jones kind of handles Zion Johnson and Filer, because I think if I recall last game, Jones did a number on Filer, but that was after he switched over from kind of like losing against Zion, right?
Yeah, and obviously Corey Lindsey went out, I believe, most of the second half, if not all of it. So hopefully everybody stays healthy. What are your expectations, Alex or Arjun, here for Keenan Allen and Mike Williams this game? When I was grading them last year, just watching those two guys the entire year, they were on a fantastic trajectory, but you can see the point after returning from their injury where the slope of their line for the value that they contributed to the team just was a bit smaller. And it took them a few games to really start to get back to their original production. And I would assume that's kind of the same thing here, because it's not like both guys have been practicing in full all week, off a bye or something and are ready to go. These guys are, they're probably going to play, but even when they do play, coming back from injury, both of them last year, it took a few games for them to get back to their form, especially Mike Williams, who I think really does grit it out and tough it out through injuries. And we don't really see him get back to form for a couple of weeks. So what are your expectations, either of you, for both of these guys this game?
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike Williams probably is closer to having like the bigger game against the Chiefs, if you want to put it that way. Has always played well against the Chiefs, and really the only thing that's holding him back is if he were to re-aggravate that ankle injury or do something like that. Keenan is the much more interesting one, because obviously people remember a couple of years ago where there was that Thursday night game against the Raiders And they sort of had Keenan as a game time decision heading into the game, I believe, with something similar like a thigh or hamstring injury. And he sort of ended up being a decoy for most of the game in terms of how they actually used him. So depends really on what percentage he is. It feels like a rather quick turnaround because we just sort of were like, well, when's Keenan coming back? And ever since, he kind of re-aggravated it, a few times this season already, it's just kind of pushed the clock back further. I'm not expecting the biggest game from him, but anyway, like the biggest advantage to having Keenan Allen on the field anyway, regardless of what his actual production is just having him as that wide receiver one that defenses have to worry about, right? It creates space. It just has, Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter as wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4, which is much better than obviously what the current situation was against San Francisco or any of these last few games.
Yeah, I think I resonate with what Alex said. Like, it's not only like having Keenan Allen back, it's like taking one of these like practice squad guys off the field. Like, I think the Michael Bandy like hype train was fun initially. Like he had those 2 catches on against who was it against?
Well, the Texans he had 2.
Yeah.
And then Atlanta hit a couple.
Yeah. So like it's fine and all, but like once teams have tape on him and like kind of know his tendencies and cornerbacks have some film on him, like he didn't do anything. He didn't even have a catch against the Niners, right? So it's not only adding Keenan and Mike, it's taking some of these guys off the field. And it's also like having more of a rotation. Like that was the biggest problem is like you have Bandy, Carter, and Palmer playing 100% or like at least 80% of the snaps, but now you can maybe give some guys a breather. And I mean, I don't really know like what the plan is for Keenan and Mike to kind of be like ease back in, like if they're going to be like a 90-100% guys or if they're going to be playing like 70 to 80%. But look, like at the end of the day, if they're both healthy, the Chargers should be passing a lot more than they should be running. And at the end of the day, you should be playing as aggressive as you can against the Chiefs because, nothing like if you think you're going to like bleed out the clock, you're just giving you're giving Mahomes a chance, right? So I think having Keenan and Mike back is huge, and it should change the way the Chargers approach their offensive philosophy.
Yeah, I don't recall. So against the Chiefs last time they played, did they go for it on 4th down at all? Once maybe to close out the game?
Yeah, I think it was once. Yeah, or twice maybe.
I don't recall actually. I should have looked that up because
that was the one where I remember. I think they got like inside the 10 on a drive like early in the game with and then decided to kick the field goal with Hopkins. And I remember that was a decision people were talking about. Feel like there were a few in that game, but yeah, Staley, as has been a lot of the season, has been a little bit more conservative certainly than last year.
Yeah, I would imagine if Keenan Allen is really out there, not just on like a 20 snap count, that should change. Although we'll see how they do on 1st down. If they can avoid, getting -1 yards or just 1 yard or 0 yards on 1st down, I think they'll be more aggressive on 3rd down. I don't see this team being a 3rd and 9, go for it sort of team. I guess it depends on where they are, but I don't really see it with the 2 tackle situations that they have. Alrighty, guys in the chat, guys watching live, we're going to get to your questions in a little bit, but we're going to talk about predictions for the game right now. So I know where I stand. I know where Alex stands. Arjun came in firing and said he's going to be optimistic. So Arjun, we'll start with you. You can give a score prediction or you cannot, but just in general, what are your thoughts on the game overall? And do the Chargers win or do they lose?
Okay, I think they'll win today. I'm feeling a little bit optimistic. So weirdly enough, like I looked through my predictions. Every game I predicted the Chargers to win, they've won. So I predicted them to win against the Raiders, the Texans, the Broncos, and the Falcons. I think the Falcons, or I might have changed my mind, but at least the Raiders, the Broncos, and the Texans. So like I felt confident leading up to this game every single day, especially getting the news of Keenan and Mike back. I just think like I've kind of been a little bit more impressed with Staley's defensive scheme the last couple of weeks. The opening script against Atlanta was like, oh my God, everyone was like up in flames, but he really turned it on after that. Really did well against the Niners. So, I guess like the only problem is like, they don't really have a pass rush to get to Mahomes, but even if you have a good pass rush, he's going to kind of like neutralize it. So I feel pretty good. I think my score prediction is going to be 31-24 Chargers. And I'm expecting Herbert to come out guns a-blazing with his guys back. Having Everett back would really help, and I don't really want to see Trey McKitty as tight end 1. But I think like I do have a question. Like, what do you think like the plan should be for the pass rush? Because like you're pretty much having Khalil Mack, Chris Rumph, Derek Tuska, and Atachu rushing from the edge, right? Like, and
Mhm.
then from the interior, you don't have like anyone anymore. So the thing I looked up with the Chiefs is like their offensive line has struggled against stunts and twists. Like they're a
Mhm.
below average team at quote unquote perfectly blocking against stunts. Like, do you think they should be trying to mix in those blitzes and stunts like the Titans did a little bit, or like is it just like a standard like you just win your one-on-ones and go from there?
I would have normally said they're just going to try to win their one-on-ones, but you saw them against the Chiefs earlier this year. It felt like they were really trying to mix it up. And then if that's what the Titans were doing to the Chiefs, then yeah, I would absolutely see them try to go for something unique. And I think overall the secondary has been playing pretty well.
Yeah,
Adderley a bit hit or miss, but otherwise the corners and obviously Derwin James playing fantastic. And Adderley did play, I think, a solid game, except for one big run to his side against the Chiefs last time. So I think you trust these secondary guys for better or worse. They are fitting the scheme. Do they have the same, or does Michael Davis have the same ceiling as JC Jackson? No. But he's playing to the scheme enough where it's just going to limit
yeah,
them. Kittle had 24 yards on one catch against the Chargers last week. So I think they are going to mix it up. Staley has shown that he would do that on the third and whatever it was, where they got roasted, but they didn't run full blitz, cover zero, whatever it was. He'll go for it. I think they will again today. I hope they do. I think if you have Keenan and Mike Williams back, you can crank it up a bit.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of pass rush, and I guess this kind of goes into my prediction. I'm a Joey Bosa away from picking the Chargers in this game. I think that
That'd
it's
be
going
huge.
to be really hard for the Chargers to manufacture the kind of pressure that they have been generating against the Chiefs in some of these last few games. They generated 18 pressures in the week 2 game this week. And if you look at both of the games last year, they generated 20 pressures, I believe, in week 15. That was the overtime loss. And then the week 3 win, they had 25 pressures, 3 sacks, and 4 quarterback hits. And so, Joey Bosa is obviously responsible for kind of a big portion of that as well. But I think the way that this goes, you just sort of want to see the Chargers be able to pass rush more. And again, you're probably not going to get Mahomes on the ground a lot. You shouldn't count on like a lot of sacks, but any play that is a hurry, a pressure, or anything like that, I think is a win. I just don't think the Chargers have enough to do it with Kyle Van Noy and like some of these other guys, Derek Tuska.
hmm
Like, I don't know if they're going to have enough to be able to do that. Khalil Mack, if he has a Khalil Mack kind of game and has 3-4 sacks, obviously he can turn it on himself like he has against the Raiders and other games this year. Um, I just wonder if the lack of pass rush pressure at the line is going to kind of cost them in terms of trying to generate pressure from elsewhere. We saw the Derwin James cover zero blitz last week where Jimmy Garoppolo ends up picking up that first down that kept the 49ers driving. So does Staley kind of try to sell out a little bit more in that respect and like try some of those like stylistic blitzes? Maybe, but then obviously if you blitz Mahomes like we saw the Cardinals do, that can, allow them and allow Mahomes to cook you, right? So that is a potential concern there. Although the Chargers, even after that week 1 game against the Cardinals that the Chiefs played, still were aggressive on the blitz. I just think it's going to be really hard to win this game without Joey Bosa, but obviously with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams back, that gives them a fighting chance that they wouldn't have otherwise had entering this week. And Pipkins back as well is really big. I'm going to go Chiefs 30-27 in overtime.
Yeah, that honestly, just for your late.
Yeah.
So when does that game end for you? If they go overtime, let's say it's another 15 minutes, like where does that leave you?
1 a.m.
Sweet. I know people are like, you should wake up, Alex. Like, look more awake. And it's like, dude, he's streaming from like 1 to 2 a.m. before and after med school. So I think give him a break there. So Arjun, you have them at a win. Do you have a score prediction by chance?
Yeah, I gave 31-24.
Wow.
Okay, so
31
I do.
points.
Yeah. So I do want to like I was thinking about this all week also. So against the Chiefs last time, the Chargers played in cover 1 40% of the time. Do you think that continues this week without JC, or do you think they go more zone heavy?
I don't know. I wish I knew how they were using Tony a bit more. I kind of just see the plays that he makes, but not the overall scheme for him.
He caught a jump ball and then he caught a
Wide
play
open.
action slide, like,
Hmm.
and he took that like 15 yards after catch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see like who they primarily match up with Tony, because that's a matchup where I don't know if you can really put like Michael Davis on him, for example, because even though he has the frame, some of the speed, like I just think Tony's a little bit too shifty for him. So like that might be a potential Asante Samuel Jr. type matchup. Not sure what exactly the Chargers will do there, but definitely like the kind of wide receiver where you sort of just miss the ability to maybe have JC Jackson and someone else and just like free up the defense. But obviously, yeah, they're a little bit thin when it comes to their cornerbacks right now.
Well, you could say having JC Jackson out there would free up the offense as well. Watching
Yeah.
him last time.
Well, JC Jackson in the optimal conditions we were expecting him prior to the season, I guess.
Yeah,
But,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, we'll certainly see. Staley said against the 49ers, it was the best game plan he's ever called as a coach. I don't know whether that's true or not, but if he's feeling that way, listen, man, the defense is feeling really confident. So whatever they call, I at least feel better. I got after the Falcons game, even though the points looked good. But then against the Niners, it did look like the scheme was working overall. And the guys were playing really, really hard, which is the reason I will also pick the Chargers to win. If the defense didn't show up last week, there'd be no point. But I'm picking the Chargers to win. But I'm going 24-23. I'm just thinking that it's a tiny bit more low scoring. At some point, I could see, oh, there goes the Chargers, left guard. And Keenan Allen needs to sit out for a bit. Oh, Mike Williams hurt his shoulder on a diving catch. And then, maybe the Chiefs don't score as much without some of their wide receivers. So I'm going 24-23. I do think it'll be close regardless, whoever wins. I don't think there's a blowout on either side. I know some people are in the chat are very, very optimistic. Jarrett Holyby, Chargers by 20. God, I wish a statement while I'm there on Sunday Night Football would be fantastic. And listen, I'll take it. Chargers win by 10. I think that's kind of the max. Gerard Kim Navarro has them 32-17. I definitely can't pick them to score over 30 until Keenan and Mike are really, really back, or until I've seen that they're really, really back. I don't entirely know. This one from Hugo, not too bad, 28-20. What's the over-under for this game? What's the spread for this game?
It's
probably
52.5.
Okay, so I'm at
that's like one of the
47.
highest. I think that's the highest total it's been for the Chargers all season, for being honest. In week it was 52.5 in week 2, and it ended at 51.
Whoa. Okay. Well, I'll still go 24-23 because I think some weird stuff's going to happen. Alden 31-21, Frank Blakely 27-24. Oh, Frank, you're going to the game. That's awesome. Yeah, I think about a 3-pointer sort of difference sounds about right. I hope for Alex's sake it's not an overtime win or loss. Well, I hope it's an overtime win, if it's anything.
If the Chargers win by like 14 or they win by 20, I will do like an emergency 15-minute podcast by myself at like 1 a.m.
You and the birds.
But,
throw some bread on the ground, let the birds come in and hang out with you.
Yeah, it'll be a whole party if they do that. So I hope the most optimistic people are right there.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'd love for the Chargers to have a true statement win against the Chiefs. It'd be the first time since ever.
I was born. They had a true statement
since
win
Andy Reid was the
Chiefs.
coach, probably. I mean, they've had statement wins, but certainly not 20-point statement wins. All right, guys, we got about 10 more minutes here. I know Arjun's got to go at 9:40, and I feel like bailing then as well. So, guys, send in any questions that you guys have. I forget who it was. Someone mentioned injuries. What's the over-under on injuries? Feels like we're losing 2 players a game. They're certainly like that, and part of the injury report does have me a bit worried because Everett might play, and Pipkins is kind of playing, and Mike and Keenan are playing, but we're not entirely sure. And so I don't know. I don't know how many players will lose, but it wouldn't surprise me if like in the second half, Gerald Everett, something happened to his groin, and he's going to sit out. He tried to play, something like that. But hopefully nothing too bad. But they are playing at SoFi. They are playing on turf. Which is where they got decimated against the Jaguars. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, part of this too is just how many of their injuries are hamstrings, groins, and like injuries that are easily to re-aggravate as well. So, in terms of like bodies dropping, that's why like, Pipkins had a game where he came back in and got re-injured. Same with Keenan, re-aggravating in practice. So, I mean, that's part of this as well.
Hopefully no one. They are. That's right. This was a Sony Michelle game. Oops, wrong one. From Plumpkin Horace. I don't want to get into that name too much. Probably more Spiller. Remember last meeting, Sony Michelle wasted 10 touches. How much did
10 touches?
Wait, was Kelly? No, Kelly was healthy. Oh yeah, but they weren't playing Kelly yet for whatever reason.
Kelly had the two the couple good runs in the first half, I feel like, and then they benched him. Was that what happened?
Maybe.
No,
I don't recall.
Michelle had 4 carries. I don't know what that person's talking about.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe it felt like 10 for all of us. That's how he got the average that he did. But hopefully, we'll see. Did any of you guys or anybody in the chat know about what Stone Smart's status is?
No.
I believe he's active roster, but he might not be like activated for the game.
Yeah.
Don't know.
I have no idea. It'd be a complete stunner. Although I'll take anything at this point. But if Stone Smart goes from nothing to hello, I'm your tight end too. But I'll take it. Guy was good in training camp or in the spring camp. From Frank Blakely, can we contain their run game early? I think they will try to pound the ball early in hopes to open up the pass for Mahomes. What are the Chiefs in terms of passing over expected? Are they pretty? They have to be up there, no?
They're number 1, I believe. Let me check.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're number 1, but so they passed the ball 13.5% more than expected.
Oof.
Chargers are 4th at 4.6%.
That's the funny part. But wow, the difference between 1st and 4th is not much. It's pretty significant. But I guess if you have Patrick Mahomes, not too bad.
I want to say I just want to say on that real quick. I think against the Chiefs, against the Jaguars, Pacheco fumbled early, and then that kind of led to much more like pass-heavy script throughout the game in general. I think in terms of how they played that out.
I thought my pick'em curse was going to get them because Jaguars recovered an onside kick. Pacheco fumbled. They almost botched a punt. I was like, man, my curse is really going to get them. But then Jaguars got themselves. Their curse is too strong. From Jacob, we'll take a couple more questions. Which corners are the best ideal matchups with the Chiefs wide receivers, tight ends that you expect to see? Obviously, we think James Kelce is a pretty slam dunk one there. But it wasn't really that simple when the Chargers played the Chiefs last time, right? It wasn't like, oh, Derwin James, you're in the slot covering Travis Kelce. It was a good mix. Arjun, I don't know if you have the individual matchups with Travis Kelce that particular game, because it wasn't just like, go take out Travis Kelce. Derwin was all over the field.
Yeah, I mean, I can look at who was guarding Kelce when he was targeted, but in terms of individual matchups, I just don't have it would take a couple of minutes for me to code everything. But in terms of who was guarding him when he was targeted, it was he got targeted 7 times, 3 against Derwin, 1 against Naz, 1 against Khalil Mack, and then 2 against JC.
Sure. All right, Khalil.
Yeah, I mean, the Staley defense in general, you're not going to have an ideal 1v1 the entire game anyway. I guess the way I would probably try to do it is MVS on Michael Davis, Asante on Tony, and then Derwin on Kelce. Maybe that's how they play it out. Not sure though.
Yeah, the big one I'm looking forward to sort of is what happens with JT Woods. They tried to play him. Is this the game where you give JT Woods more snaps, or you just throw Alohi out there and say, listen, I'll take 40 yards on 4 throws over 1 for 75?
I feel like you generally feel pretty comfortable about Bryce Callahan and whoever he's going to cover. And then obviously you feel pretty comfortable with Derwin on Kelce, like Arjun said. But then I think it's what happens on the outside that, could open up a big play opportunity for the Chiefs. Just something like that in general. Tyler, I don't know if we wanted to say our pick 'em picks really quick or something.
Ooh. Nah.
Okay.
I mean, Steven's not here. Steven will beat all of us. Alex and I will be cursed with some stupid loss, and we'll see how it goes. Although you are taking the Chargers to lose this one, so maybe that'll help you, I suppose. But
well, it either will help me or hurt me. But
sort of the big question here. I feel like this will be answered a bit tonight. Is Staley good at defensive game planning again, or was the Niners game a good matchup? How do we feel in just confidence level in Brandon Staley in his ability to scheme, or do we feel like it was just, well, that was a pretty good one, pretty good game? What do you guys think?
No, I mean, I think that was a really good game for Brandon Staley. That was a terrible matchup for the Chargers. I mean, we all entered that game thinking that the Niners would put up like 45 points. I mean, with that run game, and just how Kyle Shanahan traditionally, gets those runs to those outside zone plays, Jimmy Garoppolo, and just how little pressure I guess would be affected against him, and how he'd be able to just get quick throws out. So all in all, I mean, I think the Chargers did pretty well in that Chiefs game. What was it, 3.8 yards per carry that the Niners averaged? So yeah, I mean, and you held them to 22 points, which, I mean, in any other scenario, the Chargers offense this week where you have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Trey Pipkins, that probably would have been a win for the Chargers if they had those three guys last week. So overall, I mean, that was a really great performance, I think, from Brandon Staley. And the times where he decided to make shots on defense and just be like, okay, here's Derwin blitz, and they got burnt. It's like, well, that happens, but he also had the ability to take those shots anyway, with how good that defense was playing. So compared to the expectation, I thought they were really good last week.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, guys, it is Sunday. In about 12 hours, really 11 hours, we'll know whether the Chargers beat the Chiefs. I am feeling optimistic. I felt optimistic earlier in the week. I feel more optimistic if Pipkins and Everett both play. But we'll see. Things happen, I feel like, every year. I mean, the Chargers had the Chiefs earlier this year, and then Everett's conditioning didn't hold up. They didn't sub him out. They threw a pick six. Game was basically over at that point. Lindsley's out. Herbert cracks his ribs. Boom. Suddenly we go from driving and about to win to, oh, we lost. So we'll see how that goes. I'll be there at SoFi, so this should be pretty fun. First time all year, actually, we'll be sitting in the seats that I have for my season tickets. We've been selling our seats to buy more seats somewhere else. We have more people. So that'll be fun. I can't wait for a good primetime game. It's going to be awesome. Guys, what are you doing the rest of the day? And then how are you feeling about the game? Are you good to go? Ready to go? What are you guys doing?
I mean, after this, I'll be on my couch for 10 hours watching every game, watching Red Zone. And yeah, I mean, hope you enjoy, Tyler. That should be, hopefully one of the better games of the year. And then, I'll be watching with one of my friends, Tage, friend of the podcast.
Oh, nice.
So, well, I'll have someone to keep me sane, keep me through the ups and downs, which will inevitably happen in this game.
Good. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm ready for the Nick Sirianni, Frank Reich revenge game that's going to happen with the Eagles and the Colts. So hope for a bounce back there. But yeah, good slate of NFL games today, and hope the Chargers are able to pull off. I guess it would be an upset considering what the scoreline is, but splitting with the Chiefs in this game, even though I still think the chances to take the division are obviously pretty long, getting the Chargers back into that wild card conversation would be big.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tyler, quickly. Yeah. I've had people DM me for bets because I haven't done my segment. So can I just give out a couple of bets that I like?
Where should I place my money? Where should I put my student loans?
For the people? Cowboys money line. Eagles or Vikings are frauds, and Cowboys I think should expose them with their defense. Second, I like Daniel Jones rushing overs. Lions can't stop zone reads against quarterbacks, as we saw with Justin Fields last week. So really like some Danny Dimes overs in that game. I already talked about the Travis Kelce under because Derwin James has done a good number on him. And then give me what was one? Oh, Eagles first half. We're running that back. They're on a little bit of a cold streak, but the Colts are legitimately like the worst first half offense in the league. So Eagles -3.5 first half, and then one more play. Chargers first half money line, full game money line. Let's fucking ride, and let's all make some money today.
Oh, so you're betting on the Chargers as well? There's money in this too?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
invested now.
Any
Yeah,
I know it's not WNBA season. You got any other exotic lines that we can add to our parlays?
I mean, I have been betting NBA, but I haven't I don't bet NBA on Sundays just because I'm so zoned in on football. But
Did you have any money on the Ecuador Qatar World Cup game?
you can't pay me to bet on soccer or watch soccer, so let me stick with the games that actually score and put up points.
Wait, didn't you bet on the Colts game? Oh no, you're betting on them to not score. Okay, so you're good. That makes sense.
Basically, yeah.
So how are the Vikings a fraudulent team, Arjun?
They have. I agree with Arjun on this. Kirk Cousins is a fraud. He will be revealed to be a fraud when it comes time for the playoffs. And
Yeah,
I'll ride with the Cowboys this week because I would prefer them to knock off the Vikings. So.
And also just like Vikings show up near the 13 to 16 range and whatever advanced metrics you use. They don't show up top 10 in anything, which is such a Kirkulian stat. So, and I just think the Cowboys defense, they stunt the most of any team in the NFL. They're going to take advantage of a pretty weak Vikings interior offensive line with Bradbury and Ed Ingram and whoever the hell they're starting at left guard. So I like them. I like the defense to kind of do their work, and then Vikings play the lightest boxes of any team in the league. Ed Donatell, Vic Fangio, disciple, and then Pollard should have a pretty good day on the ground. So I like the Vikings in the spot, or I like the Cowboys in the spot, and fading the Vikings, who eventually should regress back to the mean in terms of winning these one-score games, I think.
Gotcha. So Justin Jefferson won't give me 40 points this week, is what you're trying to say. Darn.
I mean, he could, and they could still lose.
Okay, I'll take that. That sounds really good. I need to get on a winning streak here. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the game tonight. If you're going to the game, stay safe. Wear some blue. Don't wear white. I believe they're wearing powder blues tonight as well. Hopefully it's not too red in the stands, but we'll see. All right, guys. Take care.